Our first presenter today is Janis Harper, who is a writer, a singer-songwriter, an actor, and a former longtime college university English instructor. In later life, she shed academia and became an expressive arts therapist. Her writings can be found in literary journals and anthologies, including her own creative nonfiction anthologies, Body Breakdowns, Tales of Illness and Recovery, from Anvil Press in 2007, and Emails from India, Women Write Home, from Seraphim in 2013. She is currently seeking a publisher for her poetry collection, Sounding Socrates. Music from her 2015 CD, Better This Way, can be streamed or purchased anywhere online. Janis's lifelong passions for the creative arts, metaphysics, spirituality, and philosophy come together in her recent book, Jonas and the Mountain, a metaphysical love story, published by Sacred Stories in 2021. Although it's a novel, it's also semi-autobiographical and contains metaphysical teachings as well as expressive arts therapy elements and activities. Janis has presented her work in Canada, the United States, and India, and she recently moved from Vancouver to Nanaimo, BC. Welcome, please, everybody, Janis Harper.
Janis Harper, thanks for having me at this wonderful gathering. I'll be reading from my new philosophical spiritual novel, Jonas and the Mountain, a metaphysical love story. It's about an Eastern mystic, a Western psychic, and a broken man who falls in love with them both at a holy mountain in India. More than an unusual love story, Jonas and the Mountain is a quest for the deepest truth, an excursion into the nature of reality. Here's the book cover. Now, the mountain on the cover is an artistic rendering of an actual mountain in India, Mount Arunachala, where most of the novel takes place. I've spent much time there over the years myself, and Jonas's experiences on retreat with his guru are based on my own experience. The Western psychic Anamika, another main character who has a lot in common with me, inadvertently becomes an expressive arts therapist by discovering that giving arts exercises help to bring her unique metaphysical teachings home to her students. At the back of Jonas, you'll find Anamika's exercises and meditations adapted for the reader's use, as well as a subject guide to her talks. The novel has 5 parts, structured by the 5 elements in Hinduism, with corresponding themes such as the water, its confluences, fire, dreams, earth, the mountain. I'm going to read to you a few excerpts to introduce you to the 2 main characters, Jonas and Anamika. The first excerpt is from Part 1, Chapters 1 and 2, where we meet Jonas. I'll begin with the epigraph for Part 1. The mountain, earth. A damsel with a dulcimer in a vision once I saw. It was an Abyssinian maid, and on her dulcimer she played, singing of Mount Abora. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, from Kubla Khan. Chapter 1. Either the world exists, or it doesn't. Jonas drops into meditation easily, like a pebble into a deep pool, falling down, down into the quiet dark. The light flickering of thoughts occasionally nudge at the edge of his consciousness, but mostly there is silence, stillness, nothing. A deep breath expands his lungs, and he feels the welcome peace fill him, palpable, soft. And although he doesn't think this because he isn't thinking, it feels like pure relief. Or maybe he is aware of the feeling when those flickers of thoughts filter down like wavering ribbons of light from the surface into the depth of his still pool. Relief, one flicker. The awareness of the slowing down of breath, another flicker. Either there is something out there, or it's all in here and reflected out there. The world, mirroring our own inner landscape, allowing us to meet what we need to. The world as symbol, metaphor, always personally meaningful if you can see it, if you can understand, interpret the symbols. This is what Jonas's postgraduate English degree in literary criticism was good for. He was adept at interpretation. He could apply the same skills he learned to analyze metaphor, plot, symbol, theme, and structure in literary fiction to his own life, another kind of fiction. What is the overarching theme? Main conflict, important metaphors, repeating symbols. In life, as in literature, repetition is very important, a big clue pointing to issues that are uniquely yours. Repetition can indicate theme, and theme gives a life shape, separates it from others, creates individuality, or at least the illusion of it. What's the theme of Jonas's life? The major theme. For a period of 3 years, the theme seemed to be betrayal. Betrayed by his wife of 10 years, by the college he gave 7 years of his life to as a sessional instructor, by his best friend. Everything fell apart one after another in close succession, like a line of dominoes falling down. No, dominoes don't create a sturdy structure, and Jonas's life used to feel sturdy. Maybe it was more like an earthquake that shook a house down to shambles on the ground, or a tornado that swept it up in its vortex, bits and pieces of staircase, table legs, and light fixtures flying around. Nothing he did for a few years was right. His whole world looked wrong. He was wrong. Obviously, the universe was banging him on the head, trying to get his attention. No! Wrong way! Stop! But it wasn't until he had nothing, not until his life was unrecognizable, that he finally stopped fighting for himself, or was he fighting with himself, and heeded the call. Falling apart is common enough in literature. It's almost a requirement. And more often than not, it precedes greater personal awareness, a never-before-imagined perspective, a setting out on a new path toward a new world. Jonas could see these possibilities after the fact, a long time after. At the time, he could barely see a thing. He just concentrated on getting through each day, which took all of his attention and effort. But that's how stories end. Crisis is reached, conflict is resolved, denouement occurs, and the protagonist walks away, changed into a new, better life. So, did he have to go through all that to get here? Where is here? Sitting with 30 other people at the feet of his guru, D, in the open-air meditation hall in an ashram at the foot of a holy mountain in India. And obviously not meditating anymore. His dark, still pool is now all lit up by these thoughts. Just let them go, Jonas. It's okay. Be here now. He breathes in here. He breathes out now. Jonas drops again into the deep, dark pool. He feels his body relax. His shoulders fall. His stomach muscles unclench. His breath slow. relief. Here comes the soft peace. Chapter 2. 2 months before Jonas found himself in India, something unusual occurred. Sunk deeply into a familiar, stagnant pool of limiting thoughts, he came up for air and heard himself crying out, "Where do I go from here?" And an answer came. "Where are you now?" The voice seemed to come from somewhere, but he couldn't determine the location. Was it outside his body, or over there to the left, or inside of him somehow? In thin, ringing tones, he both heard and saw the words, each one turning into a balloon, disappearing in a moment and filled with that sound. The ringing echoed in his head. Where am I now? What a question. Then Jonas knew the answer. I am here. That felt right. Here. He was just here. It was enough. He wasn't anywhere ugly. He wasn't on the brink of desperation. He wasn't stuck between a rock and a hard place. He had thought he was there, but he wasn't. He was just here. Jonas felt something loosen inside. It was as if he had tightened the strings on his guitar too much, but didn't know it, and now they were loosened. They could make sounds. He could hear the voice again. Less thin this time, fuller, sweeter, a chord, maybe A or D. I am here too. Jonas knew that if he thought too much about what was happening, that he would get in the way of it. He felt an opening, the size and shape of an almond, and it started to vibrate. He knew somehow that there was a kind of backlog occurring. Something, words, sounds, images, was piling up. Jonas heard a popping sound and felt himself recede. Great galleons cross faraway oceans to bring untold treasure and delicacies to those gathered around bonfires outside the caves that are their homes. Why has this boat come in? There is little on it. Where are the provisions, the food? This one is not bringing in, but carrying away. And there are some who may choose to leave on this boat and take it to a far-off shore, undreamed of in the measured moments and pungent air in the caves. Now I'll read from chapter 3, where we meet the psychic Anamika. Anna was 11 years old when she started having nightmares, or night terrors, as she overheard her mother whisper in her concerned voice to Auntie Joy on the telephone. They weren't just bad dreams with scary people in them chasing her. Those were bad dreams, or maybe even nightmares. Night terrors might just be the right term. They were terrifying, but not in a movie way, not like a horror movie nightmare. Anna was so afraid of having these dreams that before she went to sleep, she put out her colored felt pens and paper and asked her mom to tell her to draw a picture the next time they came. She knew she'd need help to get her out of her scary place and back to normal. Her mother had been bringing Anna to the living room to look out the window at the city lights of Vancouver as a way to get her out of it. But it didn't help. The darkness, the squares and pinpoints of light from the buildings across English Bay, out the huge window, all that kept her in her scary place. Even with her mom by her side, saying gentle things to her and putting her arm around her, Anna didn't come back to her normal self. She just heard her own voice coming from far away through a long tunnel. God, oh my God, Oh my God. Anna tried to describe her night terrors one day to her mother, but could only say stupid-sounding stuff like, "It's like there's this one black hair, and it's at a normal distance away from me, and then suddenly it's huge right in my face. Then it's going back, 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 and it keeps going back, and the empty place where it was is huge in my face, but it's still back, and there is no end." Anna was not in time and space. She was not in her body. Dimensions appeared and disappeared. She glimpsed infinity. And when she did, of course, it was too immense, too huge for her perceptive faculties. Waking up didn't take her out of it, because it wasn't really a sleep dream state. And she was overwhelmed because she didn't know what was happening to her. And that was the most frightening part. In biological terms, Anna's pineal gland was opening. In Western science, which still finds the pineal gland mysterious, it supposedly regulates sleep-wake patterns and reproductive hormones. René Descartes called the pineal gland the seat of the soul, and in many philosophies it is considered a portal to the spiritual world, a physiological third eye. The opening of the pineal gland isn't uncommon in adolescence and is often the precursor to creative pursuits, the flaring up of artistic passions. And in Anna's case, it was a creative time indeed. She was bridging worlds. She came tumbling through the portal. Her third eye opened wide and didn't blink. It was as if she were on top of a mountain and could see the entire lay of the land, everything stretching out every which way she looked. But it was also as if she were being given something that was almost too much for a person, for anyone with a body, much less a skinny little girl body with long brown braids that curled at the ends and dark almond eyes that crunched up into crescent moons when she smiled. How can anyone experience such ineffable enormity, such expansiveness, such powerful creative energy? How can anyone see through transparencies in reality and into other dimensions just as real, and still be able to walk and talk and eat soda crackers with butter and play kick the can with the kids down the block? It can be done. Anna did it. But as she grew through some very rocky teenage years into an adult, she was always aware that she was merely keeping up appearances. Sometimes she thought she would explode with all that she had to keep inside of her. So occasionally, 25-year-old Anna would experiment, usually when she was having a drink or three after her shift at the bar was over. She consciously, albeit tipsily, fell out of character and told the truth when she was asked her opinion. And the results were usually disastrous. People got very angry. She occasionally tried this sober, too, in serious settings with open-minded, intelligent people. Same results. So, Anna took a different route. One day she simply receded from the world. She all but disappeared from the face of it. And this is how Anna, the little girl who sat in the dark with her mother on a living room couch, looking out at the city lights of Vancouver and uttering, "Oh my God," became Anamika, the nameless one, and how she came to appear at the holy mountain of Arunachala in the state of Tamil Nadu in the land of India. My last reading is from chapter 5, where Anamika is on the verge of becoming a teacher of a unique system of metaphysics. She's in India now at the holy mountain of Arunachala. Annemieka invited the German couple inside. When she deposited her groceries on the table in her little kitchen area, her eyes were drawn to the clock on the shelf. It was 11:11. "Oh, hi, Mom." Her mother died just before Anna herself disappeared into Annemieka. Lily had been sick for quite a while, and she also had early onset dementia, so she kept on forgetting she was sick and was always shocked to find herself in the hospital. After she returned to her comfortable assisted living home, she promptly forgot she was ever hospitalized. She hated the idea of being sick, and she was terrified of dying. This hospital home forgetting scenario repeated over several months. This last time was different. Her mother had had a stroke. One half of her face sagged, and she couldn't move one arm. She spoke clumsily and slowly out of one side of her mouth. She couldn't put on her usual happy face and act as if everything was great. Her actress persona had fallen off. She was very vulnerable, childlike. This touched Anna so deeply it hurt. She had never seen her mother so exposed. Anna felt a sharp tug on her heart when her mother looked at her from her hospital bed, eyes large and questioning, and shyly, tentatively asked, "Do I live here now?" Lily didn't know what was going on, but Anna knew. And Anna knew she wasn't supposed to tell. She was supposed to play the game, to act her part. So she cheerfully responded, "No, of course not. We're taking you home soon, back to your own lovely place." That was indeed what the doctors thought would happen too. Lily was recovering well from the stroke and would be home soon. Only Anna knew differently. She knew it when they arrived in the ER 2 days before, when her mother was once again in AFib right before she had the stroke. And amid the panic and distress, Lily paused and exclaimed, "Anna, I think my mom's here. I mean really here. I can feel her. Is that possible? How can that be?" Then she slumped over. She knew it when out the window of her mother's hospital room she saw a little rainbow connecting the sea in English Bay to the mountains behind downtown Vancouver. It was a short, low arc, not sweeping across the sky, but like a bridge, a colorful bridge of light situated among the other more solid bridges downtown. Anna pointed it out to her mother, who had always loved the mountains and the sea, had always insisted on living where she had a view. The hospital room had a beautiful view. Most of all, she knew it when she sat quietly beside her mother, opened her inner senses wide, and listened with every part of her. "Don't be scared. It'll be okay," Anna said. Anna wanted to help her mother make the transition, help her adjust her focal point from this life to another dimension. In other words, die. Anna knew these were the words her mother needed to hear. She also knew that they could be taken on 2 levels. On one level, her mother would be comforted, thinking that she was going to recover, go home, and all would be as before. On another level, Anna hoped she would be comforted there too, for Anna knew it really would be okay. She knew there was nothing to fear. And she knew that her mother knew she knew. Lily looked into Anna's eyes, just looked. "It'll be okay," Anna said. Annemieka turned her attention away from the clock on the shelf and toward the couple who'd found a place on her floor to sit. She looked at them for a while and listened. When Annemieka finally spoke, this is what she said. "This is what happens after death." Thank you so much.
Next up, we've got Charlene Kwiatkowski, who is a writer often inspired by visual art and urban spaces. Her debut poetry chapbook, Let Us Go Then, came out in December 2021 with the Alfred Gustav Press. Her work has been published in Arc, Barron Magazine, Prism International, and elsewhere. In 2020, she won Pulp Literature's Magpie Award for Poetry. Charlene has a master's degree from the University of Victoria in English Literature, and she has worked at Surrey Art Gallery for the past 8 years. She lived in Vancouver for almost a decade before recently moving to Coquitlam, where she hopes to find poems to be written in unexpected, even suburban places. Welcome to the Surrey Muse, everybody, Charlene Kwiatkowski.
Good evening. My name is Charlene, and I'm delighted to read some of my poems tonight and to listen to the other writers and performers. Thank you, Fazia and the team at Surrey Muse, for inviting me to take part. I'm reading from Vancouver on the traditional and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations in a rented house that recently sold and that I, my husband, and our almost 3-year-old daughter will not be in for much longer. There are stacks of boxes just outside of the camera's frame, and although you can't see them, I sure can. I mention this because I'm in a bit of an unsettled, in-between space, and it's strange to read poetry in the midst of all this. But then I think perhaps it is vital to read poetry in the midst of all this, because poetry grounds me and keeps me in the present. I hope it does that for you too. The topics I tend to write about the most are 1, places, especially cities, and 2, paintings or other works of visual art. Tonight you'll hear poems focused on these themes, with a few outliers thrown in for variety. And since this video presentation lends itself to visuals, I'll also be sharing some images to accompany the words. I'll begin with a recent housing poem inspired by the question, what actually belongs to me? What can I call mine? The poem is titled I Owned Kingdoms. It's a glosa, which is a form poem that begins with 4 lines from a different poem or text, followed by 4 stanzas of my own writing, where each last line is taken from that source poem in order. So my words lead up to and amplify that ending line in each stanza, which is a borrowed line. My source poem is a verse from the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible, chapter 1, verse 8. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. 10 stories high, the houses below my friend's Toronto condo look doll-sized, perfect for my Victorian dreams. Red brick, corner turret, bay window. Yesterday on Queen Street, I entered a shop selling furniture no larger than thumbs. A sign said, don't touch, so I arranged the pieces in my mind, as I've been doing since childhood, when I owned kingdoms. All things are wearisome. On vacation, I visit a cemetery and bring my friend, who sometimes works, whose parents bought her the condo. I recognize Jack Layton. Even in bronze, his eyes look merry. I whisper to his bust, I was in your house once, before storing away, when you two had a rental. Your niece let us in to study Paradise Lost. I remember boxes of cereal, a thrill of trespass that stayed, more than one can say. From Vancouver, my husband tells me he's removed our family photos, cleaned the house for the realtor's visit. We've been calling it ours, falsely, for 3 years. I walk Toronto's annex, pointing my camera at all the charming brick houses I stand outside of. They've been here longer than me, a sight that brings comfort and sting. The eye never has enough of seeing. It costs $30,000 to be buried in Vancouver, $1.3 million to buy a house. I'm not sure how to live or die in this city. Whether here or there, headstones tell me who had money, but what does it matter? In recent dreams, I stage an uprising where landlords flee, the smallest on earth find a home, and no mouth is empty. Crickets never get their fill of singing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. Something I never thought I would be writing about are cemeteries, but I live near one, Mountain View, and it's a beautiful and peaceful place, so I go there often. One day when I came back from a run there, my daughter says to me, "Mommy, when I'm bigger and older, I want to run through a cemetery like you." Life goals, eh? And I thought about the times when I did take her there as a baby, strapped to my chest, and later wrote this poem, Buried Face, published online in Ecstasis magazine. I'm carrying my daughter through Mountain View Cemetery, slabs of stone like dominoes embedded in dirt. I see 1914. I see a future with today's date, April 3rd, 2020. Hush, hush, we all fall down. World wars, stillbirths, car accidents, house fires, a global virus, so many ways to go. So many tombstones plotted in neat rows, as if death gives order. COVID-19 is sweeping the world like my father in a game of Risk. It's about strategy, concentrating your efforts. The board a blur of red. If only this pandemic were a game arranged at the living room table. My family playing shoulder to shoulder, ring around the rosy. In my pocket is a mask. The other day, my daughter stuffed it in her mouth, a mouth growing teeth. As she now sleeps against my chest, I have the sudden urge to lean over and kiss her apple cheeks. Their brightness colors my walk efflorescent. The sun is a peach rolling out of a blue worth waking up for. Lilac trees perfume the air, as if this year is no different. Snow-dipped mountains drip like that first summer ice cream. A stranger walks by, glances at my girl. You should turn around so she can see the world. Said so casually, as if she knew me. I smile. I sigh. I stroke my daughter's back, pull her tight. A response in a long line of parents who think yes and no and maybe next time. Now I'll shift to reading a few poems from my debut poetry chapbook, Let Us Go Then. It was published by the Alfred Gustav Press in December 2021. And these poems center around a trip I took with my husband pre-pandemic before we had a child. The blurb at the back states, "Let Us Go Then invites you down European streets into scenes framed with art. Like parallel trains traveling through space and time, the poems map a trip alongside a marriage." And so there's a poem for each place arranged chronologically. And I'll start with the first poem, on emerging from a station of the metro. You and I arrive like children on the first day of school, backpacks bigger than our bodies. Overeager smiles, no sleep the night before, pointing at everything. That church, that cafe, that door. Everything's so old it's new. The city moves faster than our fingers. We learn to get out of the way. I try out the language like I cross the street. Quick prayer for minimal damage. You eat a baguette as you walk, because you can do anything. Paris is the girl who brings the best lunch to school, the rest of us hoping she'll share. I'm particularly excited to read the next poem in this setting because many people have told me they looked up at the painting it refers to afterwards and then went back and forth between the poem and the painting. But now you can listen to it while seeing what I was seeing. The Calling of St. Matthew, a painting by Caravaggio in the Church of San Luigi dei Francesi in Rome. How many times we made to leave, thinking we had seen it all, then circled back. You and I too cheap to throw a few euros in the illumination box. Tourists come for Caravaggios, someone else will pay. How blinding the light. Out of nowhere, a thick river flooding the room, hand moving with it from shadows, all attention pooling around Matthew. Bearded one alone in meeting Jesus' gaze. How uncomfortable he looks. One hand clutching coins, other hand pointing at his chest. You want me? Other men hunch, refusing eye contact. Such foppish clothes, plumed hats, embroidered vests. Jesus' bare feet pointing towards the door. Come, follow me. wooden window beams crossing from background to foreground, centering everything. 2 lines once noticed, impossible to unsee, even after the coins buy a minute of light, and we are left waiting in the dark again for someone else's generosity. Another art-inspired or ekphrastic poem that didn't make it into my collection because of space constraints has a very different tone, much less reverent. I've never read it to an audience before, so you are my trial run. It's called Rebranding. Naked bodies sculpted from marble are so passé. Tired of staring at David's perfect package or Venus's serpentine sway, the Florentines erect something deliciously new in the Piazza della Signoria. Globs of clay piled on each other. Keep it simple, raw, elemental. Let imagination make of it what it will. Giant scoops of gelato or a terse, irregular stool. This town is full of brown. At least offer some gilt bronze relief. As the blurb at the back stated, the poems in this chapbook also map a marriage alongside the physical journey. And so to give you a taste of a poem that is more about that, I'll read Kingdom of One. A train can take you anywhere. It can take you to Dachau or Neuschwanstein. You let me choose. I pick the fairy tale castle and still come away sad. Sharing isn't romantic. Take my apartment when your books and clothes arrived. A stumbling two-step, cluttered with selfishness. A child saying, mine, mine, mine. A train can take you anywhere. It can distance a roving mind, leave subjects in smoke to indulge the whims of Bavaria's mad king. A disappearing act on a one-way track. What good is beauty if locked in a keep? What good is a mirror if it only shows what's clean? Under a tree, you said, you're marrying me because I'm real, not perfect. A train can take you anywhere. It can lead to excess gleaming with scarcity, snow-white swans swimming in silk. There's a place called Lonely, and thousands buy a ticket. From the window, we pass alpine views, rustic houses with thatched roofs. I take a deep breath and lean into your arm. Back home, our apartment is small, and I miss it. We ended our trip in Amsterdam looking at one of Van Gogh's famous artworks. There's a video of me reciting my poem, Sunflowers in the Van Gogh Museum, from my chapbook on YouTube for the 1-minute poem series put out by the Poets' Corner, a Vancouver-based reading series I've taken part in from time to time, and I'm pleased to show it to you now. Sunflowers in the Van Gogh Museum. Stroke upon stroke, layer upon layer, he builds a mountain of yellow. Table, vase, sunflowers, wall. As if he didn't know, didn't need, any other color. Reminds me of 2 lovers who stay together, traveling to old age. Their level of detail, godlike. The way Venetian blinds stitch light across her face. The way his arm dangles off the bed, like a fishhook. Love deepens, not dulls. A friend once compared it to wine, a simile lost on me since I can't stand the bitter descent. All comparisons fall short. Still, we try. My lover tells me, stop reading museum words. There are flowers in a vase, yellowing. Fun fact, the video was filmed in none other than Mountain View Cemetery. So as you heard in my bio, I work at an art gallery, so visual art plays a big role in my life. I write about it at home and with my creative writing practice, and at work with my marketing hat on. My colleagues and I talk about art as helping us better understand the world we live in, that at its best, it's transformative. The next poem grapples with a broken world that doesn't seem to make any sense. Someone said to me years ago, response matters, and that has stuck with me. Interruptions in the Sistine Chapel was written in the summer of 2020 as my own response that Black Lives Matter. It was published the following year in Arc magazine. When you see God, remember to be quiet. Crane your neck 90 degrees to catch his swishing robes tickling the ceiling. Don't think of Santa Claus with a can of Coke. If you giggle, you will hear, "Silence, keep moving," shouted in a nasal, military voice, and your mind will replace the Coke with a gun gripped by God's fingers, transforming the creation of Adam, bang bang, into his death. The room grows dark as a coffin, sealing sweat and garlic breath. Even if you could see, you wouldn't recognize the gaunt limbs, green skin, mutilations on the once spotless body, holed up in memory. Visit it each night like a librarian, searching the archives for an alternate story. Add a letter and God is good. So good the dead rise, stones cry, and people reach in their pockets to pull out a smile. Strangers aren't suspects painted black and white, but fellow travelers standing under a cracked sky, necks craned towards rumors of beauty. For the last few poems, I'll switch gears and share about my motherhood journey. Being a first-time mom during a pandemic was difficult and beautiful and exhausting and anxiety-producing and hopeful and all the contradictory things at once. The lightness in my poem Calm could only be written once I came through months of insomnia, because that season certainly felt very heavy when I was in it. And please forgive my bad southern accent. I am married to a man from Texas who is probably going to cringe when he hears this. But here goes. It is a truth universally acknowledged that Matthew McConaughey's voice, a pump jack bending to earth and rising smooth as oil, could put a security guard to sleep, let alone a new mother. All right, all right, all right. I'll give it a try. Earbuds in, lights out, I listen as he narrates the mysteries of the universe on this app called Calm millions use to meditate. He talks of stars, planets, and wonder. I wonder why my uncle's drawl sounds nothing like this, and reach the conclusion that not all drawls are created equal. As the story unfolds, 8 minutes remaining, the star's voice dims until I am straining to catch it, calling it back like a runaway dog. Don't you dare leave me, McConaughey, not until I have fallen asleep. My universal wonder has shrunk to the size of a queen bed, where a question mark tosses and turns under the sheets, punctuating, "What's wrong with me?" I hit the volume again and again, but can't raise his voice above a whisper, then a breath, before the pump jack plunges into the dark, while I am still hovering, oil over water. All right, all right, all right. As a follow-up and contrast to that poem, I want to share 9 months out. To use a cliche, as I'm still prone to do every now and then, that's when the fog started to lift. Venetian blinds no longer jail me. Instead, they throw chains of light onto the wall, a chain link fence to climb over. So many hands that helped. I grabbed them all. In the mirror, I forget to look for the dark, begging my eyes to follow. The orchid still lives on my nightstand. The neighbor's air conditioning lulls like a mother. All the relatives of summer visited today. Sandy books, rosy laughter, graham crackers dripping with chocolate and marshmallows. The owner of the photo store in Fraser and 49th watches my child grow up on film, far from camera shy. A caramel sky, a dress that fits. Every life needs a witness. So I'll end with an older poem, one that I'm leaning into more as I get older, and I'm making my way through life, through faith, through marriage, through motherhood, through friendship, through a new city to come. Here's Wayfinding, published online in Barron magazine. Most doors are half open. The young approach and fling open. So much depends on seasons. Yellow petals spring open. La lumière is not flicked on. Light is a hand flicking open. A prophet hangs on blindness. Sight is a seam splitting open. Faces of strangers pass like gates. Ask a question, a latch swings open. Lessons in flight are simple. Jump off the edge with wings open. The path appears and disappears. The heart is a map to bring open. Thank you so much for listening.
Please, everybody, welcome Siadic, a collaborative creation between two brothers, Adam and Simon Whitaker Wilson, which has independently released several singles, EPs, and all original live sets. Their latest is Deep Cleaning, a digital album released in 2022. Earlier, they had launched Nadir, a 4-track EP released in 2020, while in 2019, they came out with their Zenith EP, Sensing Waves. Siadic's style explores deep, progressive, and down-tempo territory, captivating audiences through hypnotic soundscapes. With classical instruments, Siadic bridges the gap between live performance and contemporary engineering of low-end sound. They have opened up for Drum, TMSV, Egoless, Jafu, and have been showcased at Ciliate and Eye of the Storm in Vancouver. They have also performed at festivals across Western Canada, including Base Coast, Shambhala, Camp, and the Field Gathering. Most of Siadic's work has been independently released and is available on all digital platforms. Please welcome Siadic to this week's Surrey Muse as our featured performer. Thank you.
I'll hold you onto the
Next up, we have Tanmeet Kaur, who is an emerging artist and is a poet, a painter, and a blogger who likes to infuse her poems with paintings. Studying at Douglas College as an international student from India, she is the vice president of Douglas Debates Club with over 100 plus members. While in India, Tanmeet also was adjudged as the best speaker in the GTM Gibson debate hosted by Mayo College in Ajmer. She also worked with non-governmental organizations in India where in 2017 she reached out to rural women and girls listing benefits of using sanitary pads. Tanmeet likes to listen to music, especially when cycling. Her favorites are rap, jazz, and country music inspired from Pop Smoke, Fairport Convention, The Weeknd, Eazy-E, Bow Wow, Post Malone, and Cody Johnson. Please everybody welcome Tanmeet Kaur.
The farther we go, the purest our love gets. Oh, my dearest lover, you are a gold ball to my happiness. Your presence lightens my surroundings like a twinkling star fallen from the sky. Wish we could go and touch the moon, like in a fairy tale, where its surface cherishes our soul with the sparkling of glint. Wish we could dance over the rainbow, like a cherub, touching all its even colors. I wish to see you in my dreams, where music encircling around, throwing some sparkle of love, maximizing it to 100%. I see unbroken creatures rounded me due to bounded by your love. I wish I could go back when we met for the first time, barely knowing each other started with a smile. I wish to dance with you in rain, where every droplet touching the surface cleans away all the cynical thoughts between us. Even the devil looks like an angel with you. When I see you, other area gets darker only. Your face shines up in front of me like a silver light. Your soul is my soul. Do not let it go like a flowing water. Wherever you are, I hope to see you soon, with lots of love and happiness. The farther we go, the purest our love gets. The farther we go, the purest our love gets. Your music is analeptic to all my bruises. Your music blooms me away with happy hours. Your presence fades away melancholy. Your soul touches me at every inch, sparkling some light in it. Your smile gives me hope to live forever for me. Every word of yours is like a pearl embraced upon me. Never have I ever imagined to be away with you from the world without you, which gives me despondency. You are like a shining star which twinkles me at every night. You won't know how deeply I am embedded in your soul to know you. Your music is analeptic to all my bruises. Your music is analeptic to all my bruises. But what if you just started ditching me around? Once again, I'm drowned in your whiskey words. I'm drowned in your whiskey words. Once again, I'm drowned in your whiskey words, which solaced me, showing heaven on all four sides. Yes, it made me fool in your trap of sweetness. I was childlike, who trusted you blindly, putting my every first on your plate. I thought maybe things would work, trusting your soothing words. You promised the world that you showed me, but what it ended up, nothing but with the empty space. For me, now it's hard to be the one for you, which I was. You took things on the next level where sun and moon touched our reflection of togetherness. I don't know, will I be able to divulge you again? But yes, your whiskey words drowned me into the ocean of hell, which ricochets me within. Yes, your whiskey words drowned me into the hell. Behind those soft eyes, there is an ocean of griefs. Behind those soft eyes, there is an ocean of griefs. Yes, I am filled up with bruises which I cannot show to the world. The world which no longer belongs to the united people who stands for love, peace, and humanity. Yes, I am filled with an ocean of thorns which pinches me at every point. Yes, I'm filled up with an ocean of thorns which pinches me at every point. Yes, I do not trust anyone, which turns out to be a hoax. I do not trust anyone, which turns out to be a hoax. Yes, I think that people who walk by my side will one day stab a knife in my spine. Yes, I am lost within myself due to hallucinations ruling over my head. Yes, I'm trapped inside these four walls who judges me in every sphere. Yes, I'm confined to an area which bounces me back when endeavoring to come out. I do not have a shoulder to shed away my tears. Behind those soft eyes, there is an ocean of griefs. Behind those soft eyes, there is an ocean of griefs, which turned me to be an introvert that no longer can be an extrovert. Yes, I'm an introvert. Then what? You think I'm an obsolete, not compatible with the modern era? So what? I know what people think of me. Don't embellish it, please. I know what people think of me. Don't embellish it, please. I know how to charge my barrages out of exhausted and complex systems. Don't worry. People say you're antisocial. No. It's nothing like that. We introverts are reserved by nature. We know how to communicate well with ourselves, but not socially. We know how deeply our soul is connected to the one who idealizes without being judgmental. We know our worth and believe in the point of our theory without possessing any superficial trait. We don't mix and match easily due to the nucleus bounded within us. We don't mix and match easily due to the nucleus bounded within us. Sometimes we need to hide away from the hustle and bustle of an atmosphere where things are not in control of us. We are shy to reach out to people, but we and our soul are truly best friends whose roots are thick for long runs. We claim for having nature and peace with utmost silence and self-isolation, giving ourselves some time far alone from this noisy world. We mind our own business, having none of the concern with the outer world. This is what self-belief and admiration are. I hope you understand our feelings of being an introvert and know how we exist. I hope you understand our feelings of being an introvert and how we exist into this world. Things would have been on the next level if we all admire your true qualities hidden inside instead of acquiring superficial. Things would have been on the next level if you all admire your true qualities hidden inside you. But being an introvert, I would suggest don't let people denote your wings. Don't let people come freely in your life. Don't give them much shadow about your life. Make a balance so that they are never above your head. Make a balance so that they are never above your head. You are the ones to welcome them in your kingdom. Being the ruler of your monarch, it's you who to decide what people to admit. Especially be aware of those who does sugary talks on your face are the ones with devil beast inside. You think they are the best? No, honey, you're wrong. Don't fool yourself under the trap of sweetness. Do not expect anything from anyone, it never lasts. Don't be a cute little puppy fulfilling their feelings, keeping yours at a stake. Don't be a cute little puppy, fulfilling their feelings, keeping yours at a stake. You think filling your sadness space with loving someone would solve all your problems? No, here. Again, you're wrong. I would repeat that line again. You think filling your sad space with loving someone would solve all your problems? No, here, you're wrong. It would be nothing but playing with your goals, keeping them aside for your stupid love. I'm not saying doing love is a wrong thing, but it must be chosen wisely, not blindly, so that you don't lose yourself, the inner you, and letting yourself ignore other things. Rest, it all depends how you take things and experience them. But I would suggest from my experience, don't let to notch your people wings down, making you fly only on the ground instead of fly high like an eagle. My motto in life has always been onwards and upwards, soaring the great heights of the sky like an eagle. Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Stark, and I'm happy to be presenting a couple of poems that I've written um, on this month's Surrey Muse. Um, the first one comes in two parts. It first starts with the letter that I wrote to my wife shortly after she passed, a week ago, 2 years ago today. Um, and then recently I sort of made some slight modifications. It's very similar, but turned it into a little bit more of a poem, I guess, sort of. And then I'm going to read another one that I've also recently written. I hope everybody has a great night, and thank you for listening. First, the letter. Myanmar, our silent conversations, the ones we have after the sun sets and before it rises, brings me such joy. A joy that is filled with heartache and surrounded by sadness. A sadness that only a love so intense as ours can invoke. You invited me into your soul for a dance, and we did in fact dance. Although the music may have ended, our embrace has not. You say that you're okay, and that I need to allow my heart to heal. For now, my love, I prefer to continue dancing, even if it is with my sadness, even if it is with my heartache. So that's the letter I wrote several days after, or at some point after my wife had passed. And now I'd like you to read, or I'd like to read the edited version that I turned into a little bit more of a poem, I guess. And here goes. I call it La Danza de la Muerte, the dance of death. Silent conversations, the ones we so often had, after the sun set and before it rose, brought such joy. Now a memory filled with heartache and surrounded by sadness, a sadness that only a love so intense as ours could invoke. You invited me into your soul for a dance, and we did in fact dance. Although the music may have ended, our embrace has not. I hear your whispers when I close my eyes. I'm okay. Silently you tell me to let my heart heal. But for now, mi amor, I prefer to dance, even if it is with my sadness, even if it is with my heartache. So that's the first poem. And now I'm going to do my second one. This one I call The Present Paves the Way to Tomorrow, paves the way to tomorrow. Rising ash lifted by the smoke, painfully falling from grace, a symphony conducted by the devil, slowly covering all that has been written, disguising the dreams, painting the truth. Glowing embers burn with fury, scarring my flesh. Blood boils, my spirit engages. The acrid smell of my soul's is whisked away by the baton's swirling wind. When the dancing begins, it ends. Through the chamber, the silence echoes, bouncing from the here and the now. Deafening, but all can be heard, all can be felt. The chiming of a bell tears through my mind. Trickles of blood flow, die in the soil. Crimson is the path to tomorrow, leading me away from the flames. Arriving to a destination unclear, breathing, drawing each breath with anticipation, one lung filled with torment, the other not. I look back, wondering if my shadow is still there. I look back, wondering if my shadow is still there. I see it. It is there. He is there. Lighting the fire, his musing interrupted by the falling ash. Finally I exhale, expel yesterday's fortune. My final gasp, clarity penetrates my spirit. And thank you very much for listening, and I hope everybody has a wonderful evening.
Aye,